Hello fellow gamer, you're probably here because I've just recommended you to come over from my Twitch stream over at twitch.tv/Stallion. If that's the case, make sure you go back to my future self on stream and tell him how good looking he is. All jokes aside, whether you're here from that or not, whether you're here because you're a subscriber from the YouTube channel, I appreciate you guys by the way, or you're in here to try and find some settings because you are sick of SBMM on the new Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, or you've just moved from controller or console and you want to adapt to get used to mouse and keyboard, and you want to find the best PC settings around Call of Duty Cold War. So the game's been out for about a month now. I've been experimenting with some bits and pieces, and I've definitely found a DPI, a setting, and some in-game changes that will definitely make the game better for you if you are transitioning over, or even if you're a mouse and keyboard player and you want to move and get into some new settings because you're not feeling like the game is working for you right now. Before I even start giving any details, I want to set some challenges for this video though. If we can get 120 likes on this video with a total of 750 views within, let's say, 2 to 3 days, I would appreciate you. Any likes, comments, shares on the video, subscription to the channel really help and support me as we are pushing towards 10,000 for the end of the year. So thank you for your continued support, and I really appreciate any help and support on that as well. Awesome. So now we've spoken about that, let's talk about details. And behind every good player and FPS streamer / content creator / COD player is some good peripherals that they're using that they're comfortable with. And what I mean by peripherals is a good mouse, keyboard, obviously your settings as well with what you've got in your computer. So I'll give you a basic rundown of everything that I'm using right now. What we're going to do is we're going to move over to my second camera, which is like an over-the-top shot, so you can see down on exactly what it is that we're doing and everything that we've got set up ready for gaming and streaming as well. So what you'll notice here is that we have a very small looking RGB keyboard. This is a 60% Ducky Echo XR12 keyboard, and the reason that I use these 60%, why I recommend these so much, is because you get rid of pointless keys that you don't need. All them F1 keys, the number pad on the right hand side, all that's actually doing for you is increasing the space on your mouse mat for keys that you're probably not going to be using if you're an FPS player / gamer. The only reason I would say to ever have these keys is if you're someone who uses, your keyboard for work, or, you're into like MMO games, you need all your hotkeys and stuff. If you're not really doing any of that and you're focused on FPS games, highly recommend this one here from Ducky. I'll get my editor, Mr. Editor, I love you. Can we please get a link on where you can get the Ducky Echo X12 keyboard so people can have a look at it? I would appreciate that. Highly recommend this one. It's fantastic, and I actually have 2 of these in case this one ever breaks. I couldn't go without it. Okay, moving into the mouse as well, as you can see by this RGB mouse, this is a very lightweight Model D gaming mouse from Glorious, and Mr. Editor is going to throw his magic again and give you guys a link right here where you guys can see how much the mouse is and where you can get it from as well. This mouse comes with 2 buttons on the side, and it is weighted very lightly for a purposeful reason. So this is one of the lightest mouses you can get. You can also get the mod low version if you play claw, and what I mean by claw is that you extend your fingers like this, so they're like aim over the top rather than your palm being down. If you're like me and when you play with a mouse that you prefer to have palm settings, then I would recommend the Model D because it's got a larger surface area. But if you do play claw and your fingers do go over like that, I do recommend getting the mod low as it's slightly smaller, and that's how you'll be able to play like that. You can also attach keybinds to these 2 keys onto the mouse here, and as you can see by having a smaller keyboard, you can move around a lot easier with a lot more space on it and a lot more freedom. This is a triple XL mouse mat. These ones aren't for sale at the moment, unfortunately, but you can find out where I got my designed and printed pad from, printyourpad.com. Once again, Mr. Editor, do your thing. I appreciate you. And yeah, that is all the peripherals and what it is that we're using right now. In terms of specs, just very basic spec rundown on my computer. Obviously, I'm using 3 screens. I recommend a 144Hz monitor if you're running at 144 frames. I'm using a 2070 Super by Asus ROG. I'm using a Ryzen 3700X, which is a great CPU. And finally, in terms of RAM, I'm using Corsair RGB 3600 MHz RAM at 32GB, but you'll be probably okay with 16GB if you want to buy an 8GB card, or you just want to buy a 16GB card altogether and slide into your computer. Now we've spoken about that, we're going to move into a screen where you guys can see exactly what it is that we're doing in terms of our settings. So I'm able to show you guys here exactly what's going on and my in-game settings and why they will make a big difference as well. So if we go into settings here, and I'm going to give you guys some further details as well on how you can make your graphics look even better and how it will help you look better, and we'll be speaking about that very shortly. For mouse sensitivity, I'm running at 3.5. A lot of people say, why is your mouse sensitivity so low? When I get people come in, they say, how are you able to turn around and turn on people in Call of Duty with such a low mouse sense? Well, it goes back to what we were speaking about on the mouse mat. Triple XL mouse mat, you've got all that space, so even with a low close sense where you're able to track your shots easier, it's going to be easy to still be able to turn around and turn on people whilst maintaining a smooth and accurate tracking shot, okay? ADS sensitivity all remains the same. I highly recommend changing your transition time into gradual. This isn't something that I've looked into too much, but I've even seen settings on Reddit saying that gradual does make a difference in terms of like things like bullet registration and just the way that your ADS feels in game. So definitely give gradual a look if it's not already set to that. That will help you a lot. Everything else I believe stays the same apart from your ADS sensitivity mode. Make sure that's on legacy as well. And then mouse smoothing for me is disabled. No acceleration or filtering either. In terms of gameplay, I've not changed anything on this. And for keybinds, I have a little bit of a weird, keybind setting in that for my crouch and slide. I move that away from left control with the same button as prone, and I actually use that on my left alt. I don't actually use my pinky when I'm playing on mouse and keyboard. I literally use my thumb for left alt, left control, and left shift. I like tuck it under my hand when I'm playing. I know, I'm a little bit weird. That's what works for me, and that's what I find to be the most comfortable as well. Having that allows me to crouch spam as well in between fights in a game where TTK can be so, like, let's say randomized, where sometimes you feel like it takes a while to kill somebody, and then other times it feels like you're like insta beaming and people are insta beaming you. And then obviously once you go to your mouse, you can see here when we spoke about the side buttons on the mouse, you've got that I've got my field upgrade and the melee to zoom both linked up on the mouse, as you'll see here. Apart from that, most of the settings are the same for when it comes to my keybinds for Call of Duty. Nothing really else changes there. If you're curious about my DPI on my mouse, I recommend 800. Now I have a little bit that I want to discuss on that in terms of what your DPI on your mouse is. Now, depending on your mouse, also depends on how easy it will be to change and adjust the DPI on it. Some mouses or some mice, let's say, have a button on them, like this one has a central button at the top where you can literally press and you'll see a little color at the bottom. I'm not sure how well you can see this, but it's like a little blue icon right here, and that will change between colors to red, green, yellow, and now back to blue, which indicates what your DPI is. You'll usually have like, predetermined settings like 400, 800, 1600, I think 3200 are like the standard for DPIs. Now I'd say 32 and 16 are, personally in my opinion, far too high for any games like Call of Duty or anybody who takes their FPS gaming seriously. Maybe 1200 at a push if you can get that, but I would say 800 is a great mix, especially for multiplayer gamers who are, looking to, track their shots, but then also still be able to turn on people in very fast moving gameplay. However, if you're somebody who focuses mainly on S&D, or you're somebody who focuses mainly on Warzone, I recommend to go down even further and go down to a 400 DPI. Now, the reason because of this is because, especially for Warzone, enemies have more HP and your tracking is more important, usually on the most part, than how fast you can turn on someone. Having a lower DPI at 400 rather than 800 will allow you to have smoother tracking, and most of the pro players who play in Warzone on mouse and keys use 400 DPI. However, if you're like me and you like to have that, quick movement still, you can run a low sensitivity on your mouse but still run at 800 DPI. What I would do if you are, first using your mouse and keyboard, have a look at your mouse that you're using, go onto Google and find out some settings on how exactly you can change the DPI for it. Moving back to my other settings and things that I'm using right now, for audio, I've got my master volume up to 65 and then music volume down to 0. This is what I find optimal, and that it's not too loud or too overpowering in my headset. And then finally, once you go down to audio presets, I've changed it to high boost, so it helps me to hear enemy footsteps a lot louder once they're moving around the map. Moving over to graphics, you'll see here that I've got windowed full screens. Obviously that allows me to run it in a full screen manner when I'm streaming, so if I alt tab, it's not going to close the whole thing down, but you can run it at full screen if you like. For the monitor and the refresh rate, I've got a 144 Hz here. If you do have a 144 Hz monitor and that is saying 60 for you, go and change this to full screen, and then the refresh rate should allow you to change it to 144. And once you've done that, if you want to lock it back in the window full screen, you can do that and it will lock in and you won't have that issue anymore. For V-Syncs, I turn them both off. I allow my NVIDIA Reflex low latency to be on and boosted. And for colorblind modes, I actually use a setting called Tritonopia here, which, as you can see here, or I don't know how well you can see it because of my face cam, but myself and then my allies and enemies look a lot more vibrant. I'm using colors like, blue, green, yellow, and purple to highlight enemies because I think they look a lot better and it makes your game look a lot more popping. Let's show you a clip here of what it looks like in game. Make sure you always study first, so yeah, get your qualification sorted out. I can't tell you how important that is, man, especially in today's day and age. Fucking shit on, bro. Study. The KSP Master, let's go. And that's the reason why I use that, because it brings out the colors, it makes it look a lot more vibrant, and I just prefer it on my eyes. I feel like it's just a lot better to look at, and I feel like even enemies look a lot more clearer once shooting at them, okay? In terms of field of view, I run at 110 right now. That's obviously your preference on how you want the game to look and how fast you want the game to run as well. For the ADS field of view, we're running independent currently. Frame rate limit is customed down to 144. Obviously, you want to look at how many frames your screen or monitor can run, so 144 is definitely the way to go if you're using a 144 Hz monitor. And then menu and minimize, you want to be running at 60. There's no point having 144 hertz in the menu screen unless you really want to flex. And then in terms of like, you know, texture qualities and stuff, everything for me is either at medium or low, and the game looks beautiful as it is. I don't use the HD game textures and models pack, as personally I don't think you need that. And then everything else is pretty much enabled. All ray tracing for me is turned off. If you're using NVIDIA for the DLSS, change it to performance, as I found that helps for me as well. So now we're back on the menu screen. You'll see here a screenshot from Reddit that I found to make your game look drastically better as announced here. It shows you two pictures, one on the left, one on the right, where you can see the difference between what this person's game looked like. And for me, when I was first playing Call of Duty Cold War, I definitely was struggling to see enemies even with the colorblind settings changed up. If you are interested in using these settings and you do want to add a game filter, a few things to keep in mind is that you need to be using an NVIDIA GeForce game graphics card. All right, so if you're using, you know, let's say for what I've got, the 2070 Super, or if you've got an NVIDIA based card, that will work for you. And then you also need to make sure you've got NVIDIA GeForce Experience installed on your computer, and to make sure that your in-game overlays are turned on. Okay, so obviously I've sent a couple of screenshots here so you guys can see exactly what it is that you need to do with that. And then once you're in game itself, you should have the function on your keyboard to do Alt-Z, and then it will bring up your in-game overlay, as you can see here. Go to game filter, and this works also for other games as well, by the way. And then what you want to do is click on any of the styles. So for example, for me, style number 1 is where I've put it, and then add filter based on the screenshot of what you see here. Now I've pretty much followed the screenshot, you know, by, you know, the exact guide. However, I've changed a few bits in that my brightness and contrast, my exposure is 0, contrast 0, highlights 32%, shadows -30, and gamma 0 as well. For color, we're using tint color at 0, tint intensity is 0, temperature 0, and vibrance I've gone from, I believe it's 100 down to around 80. So let me close them for you so you guys can see them real quick. And then finally for sharpen, I'm using 60% sharpen, and then ignore for, film grain 0. And for me, these settings have worked perfectly. I see enemies a lot clearer now. There are some people that have used these settings that said they've had issues with the game looking a little bit choppy and bitty, so definitely customize it for whatever works best for you. But I followed these settings pretty much to, you know, to the book, with turning down the brightness a little bit, and it worked perfectly for me. So now we're finished discussing all these details, and we're back up into the big screen. I'm going to speak to you guys about the final essential tool that you guys need to become a better keyboard and mouse player, and one that will definitely help you in games like Call of Duty and anything else that you play in competitive FPS, and that is having a good aim trainer. There are two programs that I recommend to use right now. Aim Labs, which is free on Steam, one of the very, I'd say probably even the most popular aim trainer right now, where you can do different exercises and courses to track your aim, do different, you know, flick shots depending on what it is about your aim that you want to train, whether it is, you know, tracking or flicking or whatever you want to do in terms of, you know, making your aim better. It's all about responsiveness, and it's also about muscle memory as well. The more you do it, the more you'll get used to it. The one that I personally use is Kovacs, and it's a program that I've had on Steam for quite a lot of years now. So I run through their exercises if I'm ever looking to warm up, or if I'm ever looking to, you know, improve and do my aim. Here you'll see a tracking exercise, a very basic one that we did at first, just on some of the tracking that I did on this, you know, on this obstacle here. And what it does, it allows you to kind of get used to your mouse movement, on how you can do your flicks, and how, you know, how well and steady you can track your opponents and whatnot. And that'll also translate into game as well. I know it may feel weird when you're first doing it on these kind of programs, but I promise you that if you get better at these, that it will also transfer into your gameplay, and you will notice a considerable difference as well. Here are a couple of clips that you'll find from me on Call of Duty as of recent, where you can see what my aim looks like, and also how we play in game. My original target this year was 20k, then 30, now 40, and we hit them all, which is kind of crazy to think. I didn't think we'd get anywhere near even 20. We started the year at 11,000, so wild, chat. No! Dude, that would have been just... Oh, he had to reload and everything! He was one shot! Why not? I'm using... Flank of a fucking century. Wow, he's pissed. I'm on fire right now, let's go. Alright, Sian, sweetheart, have a good rest of your night, love you. And even then, these people that are dropping double nukes every game, is it really legit? When you got pros not even on a 2KD in this game? I don't know, bro. So much sus shit going on in the community right now, bro. Point blank, maybe, give me it. Let's go. Tough to build a following. Yeah, Instagram does good for me. Obviously, TikTok and YouTube is great to really push your, like, proper content out there, you know? So, Radiance, what's good, man? How's it going? Oh! Oh! Holy tits! What's just happened? What the tits has just happened? Y'all in trouble in a minute, boys. Later, bitch. Oh! Ah! Please, don't chase, don't chase, don't chase. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my, I've got a chow. Don't be a pussy, Stallion. EA Games, challenge everything. More. 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 Guys, we're going to look to wrap the video up there. That is pretty much all my tips that I have to become better at, keyboard and mouse, or just generally as a PC player. If you have transferred over from console or controller to mouse and key / PC, it is the best decision you'll ever make. I know it may be difficult at first, but I promise you guys, stick with it. Honestly, I did 2 years later. I love it, and I would never move back to anything like that. The fluidity I have with the keyboard and mouse, and the feeling I have when you make great outplays on the mouse and keyboard on PC is the best feeling ever. And obviously, your frame rate is not going to be matched if you're on a PC compared to console as well. If you have enjoyed today's video, once again, I remind you to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button as well. Lots more informative videos coming soon, and a lot more Cold War action coming real soon as well. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.